they centered on was Article 108, and let me read Article 108 for your hearing. Parliament shall not, unless the bill is introduced or the motion is introduced by or on behalf of the President, A, proceed upon a bill including an amendment to a bill that in the opinion of the person presiding makes provision for any of the following: I, the imposition of tax or the alteration of taxation otherwise than by the reduction or the imposition of a charge on the consolidated fund or other public funds of Ghana, or the alteration of any such charge otherwise than by reduction or the payment, issue or withdrawal from the consolidated fund or other public funds of Ghana of monies not charged on the consolidated fund, or any increase in the amount of that payment. In fact, issue or withdrawal. And 5, the composition or remission of any debt due to the government of Ghana. And then the B says that to proceed upon a motion, including an amendment to a motion, the effect of which, in the opinion of the person presiding, would be to make provision for any of the purposes specified in the paragraphs. And so it was like a chicken and egg situation. So the argument centered on whether Parliament should have proceeded on this bill, knowing very well that it emanated from private members instead of the presidency, because it is a charge on the Constitution. We've been speaking with lawyer for Amanda Odoi or Richard Delaskai, Parkway Sibedu, and he's been explaining why the court should rule in their favor.
The focus of my submission this morning, as you might have heard, were premised on 5 main points. The most cardinal point I raised was that under Article 108, Clause A, Subclause Roman number 2, there's what we call financial impact analysis report, which should have accompanied the bill before its admission by the Speaker of Parliament. And once that was not done, then we are saying that right from the beginning, there was a constitutional breach. And this is what will not let the bill fly.
Yes, the Chief Justice says the cases will not be consolidated, considering the similarity with the one earlier held. To your camp, is this welcoming news?
To be frank, it makes no difference to the law. The rule of civil practice is that where cases touch on the same subject and the parties are the same, the case can be brought together or consolidated. But let me also be the first to admit that even where cases are consolidated, the judges are at liberty to give judgment in respect of each case. So the mere fact that they are consolidated or not will not take anything away from our judges.
Would you have wished that they did that?
To be very honest with you, that is within the remit of our judges, and I do not want to preempt the understanding of the rules.
Considering that the submissions you were making had already been canvassed by the previous.
Let me also go on record saying that although the submissions were very similar, there were other reliefs which the plaintiff applicant in the instant case was claiming, which were not endorsed on this. So although they might have overheard the same provisions of the Constitution being cited now and again, they still had a challenge of looking at those other areas which were not canvassed in the earlier case.
You recall that even the Chief Justice drew the first council's attention to the fact that there was some relief that is also seeking in this application.
Exactly.
And that's why he should confine himself to.
So the tangent of
Yes.
our submissions were
So there are
different.
two different things.
All I told myself was, God bless the Chief Justice when she took the position that this matter has been pending for over a year. And if indeed that controversial report, or that report which has remained the bane of controversy in court, was with them, why do you wait after arguments? Why do you wait after all has been said and done before you come out to say that such a bill existed?
And Parliament was really at the heart of this. It was very obvious. So we hear from the Speaker very shortly that somehow the Speaker was paying attention to what was happening. After all, it was live, right? So he was watching. And then you heard from the Attorney General himself, who was very clear, taking on Parliament for proceeding to even consider this bill and even pass it. Why? What was that point all about?
Because according to the Attorney General, the condition precedents were not met, and before any bill is laid in Parliament, Parliament should research and should do due diligence. The fact that it was not brought to the floor of Parliament by the executive or by the president, but once it is coming from a private member and it carries on its shoulders financial implication, then Parliament shouldn't have even proceeded with the hearing and then consideration of the bill at all.
There was nothing, no basis on which Parliament could proceed, because there was a failure to satisfy the very important condition precedent of the Speaker or the person presiding, presenting an analysis of the impact on the consolidated fund. And simply, I would further submit that such an omission cannot be cured by the President's election to refer the bill back to Parliament for reconsideration. Indeed, what if the President does not refer the bill back to Parliament? It means the nation lives with their own constitutionality. That would clearly be the implication. If the President decides not to present the bill back to Parliament, the nation will live with such unconstitutionality. And that will be a huge scar on the constitutional landscape of the nation. And especially, I submit that there's again no independent power of Parliament to reconsider a bill after the processes in Article 106 of the Constitution have been satisfied, which indeed have been up to this stage. Parliament has fully exhausted all the processes of considering a bill. The bill has been introduced in Parliament, has been read for the first time as required under Article 106, Clause 4 of the Constitution. It has been referred to the appropriate committee of Parliament under the same Article 104, Clause 4 of the Constitution. There has been a deliberation. Especially, my submission is that upon the satisfaction of all these steps required under Article 106, there is no room for Parliament on its own to reconsider such a bill. And therefore, there is no provision for a remedy or a cure of a failure to comply with Article 108, paragraph A of the Constitution.
Honorable Attorney General.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Did I hear you say that after a bill has been assented to and it's become an act, that there's no other opportunity?
Parliament's rights are exhausted, or Parliament's
Yes.
capacity, authority is exhausted.
Yes, that at the stage
I cannot receive the bill
on its own.
on its own.
Yes, that at the stage we are, Parliament's power to independently review the bill or provide a remedy or cure, as earlier on advocated by my learned friend, does not exist.
Now, the Speaker of Parliament, well, let's put it this way. The Parliament's lawyer was on the at the Supreme Court today too, Tadio Sore. What did he say to this?
So, contrary to what the Attorney General has been canvassing for in courts, that once the bill has been laid in Parliament, is going through the various readings and the others, once it is transmitted to the President, Parliament's work is done. In fact, the options left to Parliament are very minimal. Parliament cannot go back and reconsider that. But lawyer for Parliament, Tadia Sori, indicates that no, the President has other options available. And so why don't they allow the process, the parliamentary process, to end? And by that, he is referring to the fact that upon the transmission of the bill to the President has various options to consider and then review the bill, make comments about it, make suggestions about it, and then the bill can go back to Parliament. But he says that they are unnecessarily interfering with the business of Parliament.
The President has a discretion as to what to do with it. And my lords, I'll just crave your indulgence to read specifically Articles 106, 7, 8, and 9 of the Constitution quickly. Clause 7 says that where a bill passed by Parliament is presented to the President for assent, he shall signify within 7 days after the presentation to the Speaker that he assents to the bill, or that he refuses assent to the bill unless the bill has been referred by the President to the Council of State under Article 90 of this Constitution. Then Clause 8 says, where the President refuses assent to a bill, he shall within 14 days after the refusal state in the memorandum to the Speaker any specific provisions of the bill which, in his opinion, should be reconsidered by Parliament, including his recommendations for amendments, if any. Inform the Speaker that he has referred the bill to the Council of State for consideration and comment under Article 90 of this Constitution. Then finally, Clause 9 says, Parliament shall reconsider. When it is sent to Parliament, it shall reconsider.
Where you probably missed what the Attorney General said, that the Article 1081 provides a prerequisite action condition.
Yes.
A condition precedent, such that if missed, everything done thereafter is invalid. For legality and constitutionality.
I didn't miss that point. Eventually, if this court decides that there has been an illegality by reference to the Constitution, what it will declare is that there is a nullity. And the question my lady kept asking me earlier is that if in truth there is an illegality and Parliament concedes it, would it correct it or not? So if the President draws Parliament's attention to that, and Parliament agrees with the President, and that's it, it would have achieved the same question that my lady has drawn attention to. So again, no need for the injunction. So that's my answer to paragraph 10.
And that there is lawyer for Parliament, Tadi Osori, before the Supreme Court today, which, by the way, was live across our platforms here at Joy News. I want to bring in right now my parliamentary correspondent, because while this was happening and Parliament's lawyer was making the point, the Speaker took the matter to the floor. And Kweku, how did this happen? What was the context?
Well, we were all monitoring proceedings. Parliament had not started because of the rains. A number of MPs had not come in. And so, in fact, at the time Tadi Osori was making this argument, Parliament itself had not started sitting. It would appear the Speaker of Parliament was clearly following proceedings and the questioning of the justices, particularly also the submission after being made by lawyers of Sky, Amanda Odo, and in particular the Attorney General. When proceedings started, Haruna Iddrisu raised concerns about a cement airline that is currently before the House and said he may be tempted to go to court if the minister does not withdraw the airline. The Speaker of Parliament then seized on that moment to really send out a warning, in particular to the judiciary, warning that Parliament will not entertain the judiciary extending its tentacles into its business once its job is not done. In particular, he gave the example of a bill and said Parliament's job regarding a bill would not have been done until the President appends his signature to it or not. And until that is done, he does not believe that the Supreme Court or any other court should be entertaining suits from people seeking to question the legitimacy of the work that has been done in the House. Listen to the Speaker of Parliament admonishing MPs to stand up and resist against any such encroachment by the judiciary.
Let it be known that when it comes to lawmaking, until all the processes in this House are exhausted, there is no business for anybody, including the courts, to consider. Because the Constitution and the enabling legislation takes care of all these challenges until, if it is a law, it is assented to by the President. Judiciary has no jurisdiction to try to pry into it. This is notice. We have to take this seriously, or else our legislative authority is being taken away from us by other agencies and arms of government. That should be resisted by this House, or else your being here is of no consequence. The law is very clear on this. And so until a bill is assented to by the President, nobody has any business to take that process that is being considered by the House to the court. And I don't want to preempt the judgment of the Supreme Court in this matter. But I'm giving notice because on daily basis, I'm being served with writs as a party on matters that are being considered by the House. That's why I'm compelled to say this.
I mean, this places Parliament firmly on that collision course with the Supreme Court as we await that verdict on the 17th of July. But Kweku, did we get any other comments from other members of Parliament to this?
Well, not at all, Evans. You clearly hear the Speaker saying that he did not want to preempt that judgment, that verdict that will come from the Supreme Court on the 17th of July. In fact, MPs were all clear in their mind that the Speaker was clearly referring to this case. Just after that, the Speaker suspended sitting for about 5 minutes, and so MPs could not comment on all those matters. Some of them that I spoke to outside of the floor, some agreed with the Speaker, others did say no because they thought that Parliament, as an organ of government, is still under the Constitution. And so if Parliament conducts itself, even in a lawmaking process, and it falters somewhat, other persons can also go to the judiciary for judicial review. And so when the Speaker returns after that brief suspension, they proceeded to deal with other matters. But the Speaker is clear. He's inviting other MPs to come on board to resist what he calls the encroachment of the law-making function of Parliament.
This sets a tone indeed for some very interesting times ahead as we wait the Supreme Court verdict on this particular matter, whether the processes the Parliament intends to take going forward on the LGBTQ bill can be halted. An injunction indeed has been applied for, an application for that is what the Supreme Court will be considering. I want to bring in a member of Parliament, a lawyer himself, who also happens to be one of the sponsors of the anti-LGBTQ bill. He's a co-sponsor. Roxy Nelson Dafiamepa joins us right now on the phone. Roxy, where do you stand on this debate? Hello, Roxy, can you hear me? Okay, we don't seem to have him. We'll try and get him quickly on the line on this. Wherever you are, this is Top Story. On the day when the Parliament was placed firmly on the collision course with the Supreme Court on that very controversial matter of the anti-LGBTQ bill, the Supreme Court has now been considering this application for an interlocutory injunction that would halt Parliament and tie its hands from proceeding on this particular matter. You just heard there the Speaker say that they will resist any attempt by the other bodies, other constitutional bodies or the other arms of government to try and stop them from doing the work that he believes the Constitution mandates them to do. We'll hear from Roxy Nelson Dafiamepa pretty shortly, and I will take your thoughts too here on Top Story.
Auntie T, I beg, fix me go betete Ghana. No gari, no oil, no plantain, just beans then eggs.
Hey, brah, that be dangerous combination, no?
Problem no day. I feel handle am.
For Telecel, with the Bob say everybody gets what they like. That be why Made For Me bundles day. Based on your usage, you fit get your own data and call packages. Fala! Made For Me bundles like the way you the want them. That star 530 hash, then buy Made For Me bundles today.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Well, we'll hear from Roxy Nelson Dafiamepa pretty shortly, but still with me in the studio is parliamentary. It's our Court Affairs, Legal Affairs correspondent with me on this particular subject. So this is going to be on the 17th.
Yes.
That's what we expect to hear this.
Exactly. So you see, what the court has been saddled with today has been Article 106 and 108. So the 108 borders on the financial implications of bill and anything that will have an effect, an impact on the consolidated fund or the taxpayers' money. And the 106, the processes the parliament takes in passing a bill and all of that. So the point really has been that did Parliament do due diligence before considering the bill, considering that there is a constitutional imperative that mandates them to scrutinize the bill, whether it is a private member's bill that has a consequential effect on our economy or our funds. So that is the question that they are asking, and whether parliamentary business ought to be truncated unnecessarily by injuncting the process of the transmission of the bill from Parliament to the President. And so the argument that Thaddeus Sori has been canvassing for is that Parliament has started its business. Why don't you allow Parliament to finish with this business? So it starts from the laying of the bill right to the President, the bill getting to the Presidency, for the President to assent to the bill or not. If the President does not assent to the bill and then there are other comments, the Attorney General, the principal legal advisor of government, is there to advise government or offer a legal opinion on that matter, then the bill will be sent to Parliament. But the Attorney General today is saying that, no, that is not the process.
Thank you very much, Kojo, for that. And I want to stay in Parliament a while longer, where we've heard from the Speaker already on the subject of the Supreme Court's pending consideration of that particular decision on the 17th of July, whether or not to injunct Parliament from taking further steps on the anti-LGBTQ bill. And today in Parliament also, the Finance Ministry has been briefing the House on the very controversial subject of the National Cathedral project. And we're now beginning to learn a bit more about how much money we have spent as taxpayers on that particular project that looked very stalled. Kweku Asante is still with me. Kweku, so was this an urgent question that was filed, or the Finance Minister himself came by themselves to brief the House?
This was an urgent question that has been in Parliament for more than a year. In fact, for several weeks now, the minority have been making a lot of comments about the need for the business committee chaired by the majority leader to program the finance minister to come. You will recall, Evans, last week that minority again raised issues about the committee that Parliament was expected to set to investigate the National Cathedral issues and all. The minister, the majority leader at the time, last Friday I should say, did respond that the minister will be coming this week to respond to those questions that have been filed. Interestingly, this particular question regarding how much has been spent and whether or not there was an audit was filed by the deputy majority leader, Patricia PJ, an NDC MP for Asokwa, who did file this question. So the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, Abdullah Asare, is the official who came to respond to these questions, not Dr. Mohammed Amin Lamte himself. Abdullah Asare provides an update that since the inception of this project till now, government has been clear that it will be providing land and seed funds. And for the seed fund, they've so far provided 339 million Ghana cedis since the inception of that project. And the 339 million cedis is what has been used for the project so far. She does confirm that value for money audits were done before these monies were released. Listen to her.
For money audits done on the project in 2021 by Kesley Doyumo Group. Also, a statutory audit of the National Cathedral of Ghana accounts by Deloitte Ghana was started in July 2023 and is ongoing. The auditors had concluded the audit of the 18-month account ended 31st December 2020. Meanwhile, preparations are in place for the auditors to complete the remaining accounts for the periods ended 31st December 2021, 2022, and 2023. I remember that from the onset, the Ministry of Finance mentioned that our contribution to the National Cathedral will be the land and some seed money, and this was in the budget, previous year's budget. I can't state exactly which year, but clearly it was in the budget that we were going to give some seed fund and the land as our contribution to that. So, Mr. Speaker, that is what I can say to that. But clearly, we have records to show how much we have paid. And so it is not something that is not transparent enough. We all know how much we have paid. Apart from the Honorable Minister, the former Minister for Finance, Honorable Kenuforiata, whose salary has already been fully committed to the Ghana Institute of Linguistics, Literacy and Bible Translation, Gilbert. The office holders, including His Excellency the President and the Vice President, had related deductions between April and June of 2020, amounting to 1,781,894 Ghana cedis, 38 pesos. And it is shown below that in April 2020, 81 office holders contributed 637,998 Ghana cedis, 77 pesos. And this was on 22nd of June 2020. And May 2020, 82 office holders contributed 638,098 Ghana cedis, 77 pesos. And in June 2020, 64 office holders contributed 505,796,084 Ghana cedis. And so totaling the 1.7 million I mentioned.
So 339 million cedis spent so far on the National Cathedral. Kweku, she's also just, we've just been listening to her, updating us on how much the state raised from the donations that they got from ministers on the back of the president's announcement in the heat of the COVID-19 pandemic that himself and his government officials will donate a whole or part of their salaries towards the fight against the pandemic?
Yes, in fact, that question stood in the name of the minority MPs who wanted to know, in particular Al-Hassan Suhini, that the president had clearly made that promise at the height of COVID-19 that his government was going to donate in part or the whole of their salary. They insist that 1.78 million cedis does not look big enough. And the minister has been responding that it appears all ministers who are MPs did not contribute this way because their salaries are paid from Parliament, and Parliament may not have done this deduction. And so the 1.78 million cedis that were realized were the president, the vice, and other ministers whose salaries are not directed through Parliament. And so that is the information she has been providing to the House in terms of how exactly that amount of money has gone in to help the country's fight against COVID-19. Ever.
1.78 million cedis. Thank you very much, Kweku, from Parliament on what has been happening there today. There's a lot more on Newsnight. We start right now.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. In the next 60 minutes, teacher unions fight proposed free SHS bill. We'll get to hear from NAT and NAGRAT as they take on the Education Ministry, accusing it of playing politics with education.
We already have the law, but looking at what the graphic reportage, it's like a political talk that somebody's entertaining fear.
We'll get to hear from renowned educationist Professor Stephen Ade as he questions the need for a law to regulate the free SHS policy.
Now you say you have prepared a bill, a law to go to Parliament, and then you sneak out certain aspects of it. I think that it is a bad way of going about.
Also tonight, Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana, CLOGSAG, swerves meeting with NLC only to continue their strike unabated.
You see, they sent a letter to the commission 3 days ago, which was suggestive that they might not attend.
We'll get to hear from the NLC as it says their action is declared by the National Labour Commission as not well constituted. We'll get to hear from the Labour Commission on the stance they've taken on CLOGSAG.
Yes, we'll direct them to call off the strike because it's unfortunate.
Also tonight, Finance Ministry insists there's been value for money audit after telling the House 339 million cedis have so far been released for the National Cathedral project.
For money audit done on the project in 2021 by Kesley Doyumu. Also, a statutory audit of the National Cathedral of Ghana accounts by Deloitte Ghana was started in July 2023 and is ongoing.
And still in Parliament, they have advised Trade and Industry Minister to withdraw controversial LI seeking to regulate cement prices barely 24 hours after it was laid.
I will advise, I'm not directed, I will advise that the sponsors of the instrument should take a second look at it and, if possible, withdraw and capture it in the appropriate language.
Meanwhile, divisions in the minority deepens as more members raise fresh concerns about the legality of the proposed legislative instrument.
Core mandate of the Standards Authority is in respect of quality of goods, not with respect to the pricing of those goods.
But I'm minded to test this matter in the Supreme Court.
In business, foreign direct investment for first quarter picks up strongly to hit $124 million.
And as well as we hear from Ghanaian swimmer Giselle Mensah following her qualification for the upcoming 2024 Olympic Games in Paris via the World Cup.
And later in an NSMQ update today, we'll get to introduce and welcome Presby SHS Bombata. They are the latest entrants into the National Science and Maths quiz after beating Trinidad Kodia SHS and Edujinfi SHS. You want to stay for details of that and more here on Newsnight. Your thoughts, comments are welcome. It's via WhatsApp 05511119997. We're also live on X Spaces. You're on myjoyonline.com. Leave us a comment with a hashtag Newsnight. I am MFA Baba Apau.
My name is Evans Mensah, and let's start tonight on that region controversy now on that free SHS bill. Now, we're hearing from pre-tertiary teacher unions across the country, and they are tonight uniting to fight the proposed bill being championed by the Education Ministry. The Minister, Dr. Yao Edichum, this week provided details about the bill, which is set to be laid before Cabinet for consideration. He told the Daily Graphic newspaper that the bill will scrap the basic education certificate examination as a prerequisite for progression and make secondary school 6 years, while decoupling the junior secondary school from basic education.
We are now hearing from both the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, and the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT. Well, President of NAT, Reverend Isaac Owusu, questions the need for a free SHS law. He's been speaking on PM Express.
No, we already have the law. You see, currently, if you look at Act 1049, which is for Pre-Tertiary Education Act. If you look at Section 1, Section 2, and 3, the 3 is specific, which talks about free secondary education. Secondary education in its different forms, including technical and vocational education, shall be free and accessible to all eligible candidates. So we already have the law. Act 1049. So that is why I'm saying that, to the best of my knowledge, for us, some of us are not privy to the content of the proposed bill that the minister is sending to Parliament. Is it that you want to give extensive, comprehensive legislation on pre-secondary school, or you want to amend the entire pre-tertiary education system?
Is it your position then that we don't need another law as is being proposed by the minister?
We already have the existing law.
Okay.
So it's either you are bringing an ally to give more clarification on how we should implement the free secondary school, but you cannot say that you are bringing a proposed new bill. That's why I'm asking: is it going to replace the Act 1049, or is it going to stand on its own? The Act 1049 talks about pre-tertiary education, which includes secondary education. So maybe until we see the content, then we will understand the minister. But looking at what the graphic reportage, it's like a political talk that somebody's entertaining fear.
So we also learned that civil society groups in the education space are also mobilizing to send a petition on this particular matter. We heard from Kofi Asare, who is the head of the Africa Education Watch.
The structure of the pre-tertiary education system is already in law. It's in the pre-tertiary education law, which Nana Akufo-Addo, His Excellency, passed and signed on 29 December 2020. Act 1049 has the structure of the pre-tertiary education system, which includes basic and secondary education and TVET. So the structure is there.
But Kofi, if you read the graphic interview, the minister seemed to suggest that once this law is passed, you will cease to have the junior high school nomenclature, will cease, and then you will have only the secondary school.
Yeah, so you can choose to call the junior high school a junior secondary school. But we all know that when President Kufuor was changing junior secondary school to junior high school, it didn't go through law. It wasn't a series of... You see, laws provide legal, institutional, and regulatory frameworks for the enforcement of rights. Policies provide the operational frameworks for the implementation of these rights as encapsulated in law. So the things we are discussing are not legal issues.
Well, today, the National Association of Graduate Teachers have also issued a strongly worded statement on the proposed bill following the minister's interview with us this week. Well, let's go through the statement.
And this is signed by all executives of NAGRAT. It's a strongly worded one indeed. They talk about disgust, they talk about grave concern, but fundamentally, they are talking about lack of consultations. After the minister spoke to Graphic and put out some of the details there, they expressing a disappointment over the lack of any extensive stakeholder consultations on this particular bill, especially from the teacher unions. And now you've heard Nat already make the point there that the law already exists in some form, and that NAGRAT, since the implementation of the free SHS program, they've been calling for a review to right the wrongs and affirm the good therein. And so if you are thinking about a law then you should come to them before you even start talking about it. So that the first time you hear it, it will be something that all stakeholders have contributed to before it even goes to cabinet. But that's the position that they hold on this particular matter. And they're asking Parliament, especially the Select Committee on Education, that they call it the so-called bill, is without education stakeholders' inputs, particularly the teacher unions, and therefore should respectfully be rejected. So they're asking for rejection from Parliament already on this particular matter. And I want to bring in Angel Kabono, who is the president of NAGRAD and joins us right now on the line. Mr. Kabono, thanks for your time here on Newsnight. I mean, if you listen to the speaker, the minister, in the interview that he granted to the Daily Graphic, he says this bill is now on its way to cabinet. It's not even cabinet yet. Do you still insist that you should be consulted even before cabinet considers it?
Yeah, if I'll come again.
I'm talking about the minister's position on this proposed bill. In that interview that he gave to the Graphic, he says cabinet is yet to consider it. I mean, you still insist that you should be consulted before cabinet even considers it?
Yes. In fact, we are amazed at the trajectory of discussion in the media, in Parliament, statement made by the president, and a statement being made by the minister on a non-existent bill. If you recall, a few days ago, the president announced that they were sending a bill to Parliament to make free SHS legally binding. If there is no bill, what was the president talking about? So it started a shadow boxing where even the majority leader stated and was creating the impression that his opponent is opposing the bill. Now we are hearing that there's even no bill in cabinet, let alone Parliament. Then the minister comes in and says the bill that he will be sending to cabinet includes reformation of the structures of education, that is, adding the junior high school to the senior high school to make senior high school a 6-year program. And that BEC exam will no longer be there for the purpose of certification, but will be for the purpose of selection and all that. Then we became suspicious because if the minister is talking like this, then there is a certain document he is referring to that is not known to any of us. And that what will be going to cabinet will not only be a document that will make free senior high school legally binding, but will be a document that will be far-reaching beyond the shores of free SHS, goes to the structure of education and all that. Then we ask, if there is anything like this, who sat down to formulate that? And who was consulted? We have been in this country for a while. I mean, and we've had different education reform documents, starting from the first regime. But the one of most recent recall is the Anamwa Committee established by former President Kufuor. The Anamwa Committee was set up with a concept from government. Anamwa went through the length and breadth of this country, solicited information, discussion and ideas from local chiefs, from education workers, from parents, from religious bodies, indeed, from all stakeholders in education. Brought this into a document and presented that document to the government of the day. Cabinet then looked into this document and issued a white paper on the document, which then became operational in this country. Have we done something like that to any concept of education since up to today?
But
the answer is absolutely no.
But Kabono, if cabinet considers it and it goes to Parliament, you definitely get an opportunity to make input at that level.
No,
at least because Parliament will invite memorandum on it.
that will be a very late stage. It will be a very late stage in making inputs. Look, we have had a situation in this country when a controversial bill was passed a day before Parliament rules after general elections. We've had that situation in this country. We have to, and look, you see, people do not know the nuances that goes on when select committees are sitting on issues and government has a desire to pass that into law. We are talking about an education bill. We are talking about education reform, something that will affect the future generations and the future path of our country. Even we, those who are practitioners in education, cannot claim to own education or cannot claim monopoly over how education should be run. Education is for the people. You cannot, under any circumstances, come up with a major change and shift in how education is operated without wider consultation and the buy-in of the people. Other than that, when it comes, it will fail at implementation stage.
The minister has spoken. The minister has spoken already. Will you reach out to him, your group?
Yeah, we are. By the statement we've issued, we are reaching out to whoever is concerned. By the discussion you and I are having, we are opening the frontiers of discussion and a call for the right thing to be done in the interest of education and teachers, students, parents, and all.
So, for clarity, you want to make input before it goes to cabinet?
So for clarity, we even want to understand what is going on. What is going on? What do government want to reform? What aspect of education does government want to pass a law on? What are the ingredients in that document? Who formulated the document and what is the purpose of what has been formulated?
If you don't get that?
We'll keep mounting pressure.
Mr. Kabado, thank you very much. That there is the president of the National Association of Graduate Teachers. And, incidentally on PM Express yesterday, we also had Professor Sibin Adai, renowned educationist. Mm-hmm. And he also raised concerns about the approach adopted by the Education Ministry.
As someone who has been in the education field for a good part of my life, not all my life, and watching things for the past 75 years of my life, I find all these discussions a bit funny and unusual. And I don't know what the minister is aiming at to achieve in throwing this into the public domain. Because policy, you may say that we want to look at the free SHS and see how we can improve it, and then have forum, the experts come in, we discuss it. Now you say you have prepared a bill, a law to go to parliament, and then you sneak out certain aspects of it. I think that it is a bad way of going about it. Instead of concentrating on preparing their children for the BCE and WASI, when they have 2 weeks to go, you throw this into the air. This is not acceptable. In Tree, we say,
well, I want to hear from you on this matter. You've heard from the teacher unions, and MFR Powell, you're a parent yourself, and I'm pretty sure you have a position on the matter. Share your thoughts with us, 055-11-11997. Where do you stand on this debate as it relates to the free SHS bill? The teacher unions are opposed to it. They are actually criticizing the approach. And what about the substance of what the minister had proposed? He wanted to decouple junior high school from basic and add it to the senior high school. So you have 6 years of secondary school education. And then they also want to cancel the BECE so it doesn't become a prerequisite for entry into the senior high school. Share your thoughts with us here on Newsnight.
Honestly, it seems like there's a lot of confusion in the system, especially when we are introducing a new curriculum. We're rolling it out, and then now we're hearing about regulation amongst others. But really, let's take some of the comments that have come in. This one says, it seems MPP is confused about education system because our children don't have enough classrooms, desks, amongst others, that he says. That message, I think, is from Promise, from Keta. We'll take some more of your messages that you've sent in on this. And this one, Sena Hateka says, what Mr. Kabonu is saying is totally true. We have one from Nana Ikuya Boating speaking about other issues that we'll get into. And this one also says, I'm finding it difficult to understand some members of the government. Okay, so we'll take some of your messages. We'll make time and take some of the messages that you've sent in via WhatsApp on 05511111997. But you can continue the discussion wherever you are and send us messages with the hashtag Newsnight. Now let's go on to some other stories, Evans, shall we? Because tonight, the third accused in the controversial ambulance trial is waging war on the military hierarchy as he instructs his lawyers to subpoena the military command, contesting reasons they tabled for releasing him from service. Richard Jakpa, who served as a lieutenant in Ghana Armed Forces, was released from service in 2007. In a confidential document cited by John News, the Armed Forces says Richard Jakpa was a bad example by all standards, and his continued retention is likely to cause harm to the service. They add that Richard Jakpa was incessantly indebted to various people and institutions, pointing to his long indebtedness to Recce Regiment PRI to the tune of $300, which he was unable to pay until the authority was forced to deduct the said amount from his salary. But Richard Jakpa, who is contesting the narrative, says he's ready to take on the Ghana Armed Forces. He spoke on the Pulse.
Very strange, my brother, and that is why I'm contesting it, and that is why my lawyers are going to subpoena the military command
to come and explain this letter.
To come and provide evidence to the consistent fraudulent conduct, the institutions that I owe, the people that I owe, the military trial proceedings that took place that conclusively found me guilty for them to write such a thing about me. Would have copied me, would have confronted me, would have given me the natural justice for me to even defend myself.
All right.
The letter is from Army Headquarters. Military officers, they have their units. I was under Recce Regiment, and the Recce Regiment is under a Southern Command headed by a Brigadier General. So we respond directly to that Southern Command. Then from there to the Army Headquarters. So if you are writing something like this, you should have been quoting references from which this complaint
was made
from. But you look at the letter, there are no references on that letter at all. So it meant that the Army Headquarters on its own, out of a vacuum, created this story of consistently fraudulent, owing people institution because they didn't reference anything. And when you look at the letter again, you see that they've underlined. There's underlining, which means that the Chief of Staff will have read that letter and taken note of those areas. If he does that, he will comment on it. He'll write a minute, he will comment on it. But there's nothing like that. And then if the letter indeed went to the Chief of Staff office from the Army Headquarters, you would have seen receipt stamp of the Chief of Staff office, receipt on it. So this letter that they are throwing around, claiming it to be my release letter, which is not true. It was a recommendation signed by a dead military officer.
But you accept the recommendation, but you are disputing the words they used to describe it.
Yes,
you are also saying that you were not privy to this letter.
Yes, as you can see, it is not my release letter as they are throwing it around. They are very ignorant and mischievous. That is one. Two, the content there, I'm not privy to them. I've not been confronted. I've not been charged on them.
You are also saying that at no point did the military recommend your release from the service.
No, I can't say they didn't recommend. I'm not privy to that. But this particular recommendation,
you are contesting it.
I'm contesting it, and the letter by Nitiwul is even the worst of it all. He quoted unsatisfactory, which falls under item 2, clause C.
Perhaps referencing this letter signed by MGK Ahiaglo.
If he's referencing from this letter, then he has a problem, because I don't see a Minister of Defense will be sending a letter to an Attorney General to tell the Attorney General this is the reason he was released. The reason I was released is premised on the official release letter.
Well, we also learned in this exclusive interview on the Pulse that Richard Jakpa is a strong sympathizer of the NDC. In fact, he's worked for them as far as the election monitoring is concerned. He was alongside Rojo Metonunu in the back room, the strong room, as we used to call it then, in 2008 during that general elections.
Well, I'm a sympathizer of the NDC, and I've been an operative for the NDC for years.
So you're a member of the NDC? I'm
a member.
A card-bearing member?
Not a card-bearing member. As I told,
in 2008, you played an active role in the affairs of the NDC.
Yes,
you were a member of the team that was in the EC strong room when the late Mills was bidding to become president.
Yes,
that should make you a very key member of the NDC.
Yes, I told you. Because of this case that I'm on the lam, I operate. I'm a covert op. I will have people who are on air, a card-bearing member. They do their political thing. I don't do politics. I'm an operative, an intelligence guy. I operate behind the scene. That is my job. I don't like the limelight. But this case has brought me out. So
you're a member of the NDC?
I'm a sympathizer.
That explains why you decided to give.
I'm a sympathizer of the NDC. That's how I'll describe myself. And the strong room you are talking about, yes, indeed, yes. Rojo Metonunu and myself were represented at Mills in the strong room in 2008.
Few months have been discharged from the Ghana military.
No, I was discharged in 2007.
2007.
Election was
in 2008.
2008 December, about 1.5 years. So that is completely different.
But 1.5 years to be trusted with the responsibility of managing the results of the presidential elections, that obviously means that your relationship with the NDC back then was so tight that they could trust you with that responsibility.
It's because NDC has its appendage from the PND. And my father was instrumental in PND. In fact, he was one of those who they went and released Rawlings from jail. And from there, he became the Armed Forces Committee Defense of Revolution. They defended the AFC. They defended the revolution until that 92, we moved in democracy. And they continued until 2000. So he was an integral part of the survival of the revolution. You understand? And into NDC. So it's a family issue.
It runs through the blood.
It runs through the blood. So you cannot jettison Jakpa from NDC.
That's Richard Jakpa. He's a third accused person in the ongoing ambulance trial. Well, his cross-examination is over. Yeah, and he's been speaking to my colleague Elton Brobe on the Pulse on the Joy News channel. That full interview is available on all our social media platforms, also on myjoyonline.com. You really want to catch that interview. You do, and you're still live here on Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM, and we learned just like 30 minutes ago from Parliament that the Finance Ministry has been updating the House on the National Cathedral project. Guess how much the state has spent on this so far? Tell me. 339 million cedis has so far been spent on the National Cathedral project. Listen to the Deputy Finance Minister who has been to the House today. She's now the Minister of State. Oh, Minister of State. That's true. You're right on that. Minister of State of the Finance Ministry, Abenose Asari, who was on the floor today on that matter.
For money audits done on the project in 2021 by Casely Doyumo Group. Also, a statutory audit of the National Cathedral of Ghana accounts by Deloitte Ghana was started in July 2023 and is ongoing. The auditors had concluded the audit of the 18-month account ended 31st December 2020. Meanwhile, preparations are in place for the auditors to complete the remaining accounts for the periods ended 31st December 2021, 2022, and 2023. I remember that from the onset, the Ministry of Finance mentioned that our contribution to the National Cathedral will be the land and some seed money. And this was in the budget, previous year's budget. I can't state exactly which year, but clearly it was in the budget that we were going to give some seed fund and the land as our contribution to that. So, Mr. Speaker, that is what I can say to that. But clearly, we have records to show how much we have paid. And so it is not something that is not transparent enough. We all know how much we have paid.
And that is the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, Bena Osayasari.
Let's bring in the North Tongue MP, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, for a quick reaction to this. You know, he's been leading this particular project when it comes to the National Cathedral. We are grateful for your time here on Newsnight. So you sat through Parliament, you listened to the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry revealing that there's been a value for money audit that has been done, and so far 339 million Ghana cedis has been released for the project. Your reaction?
The National Cathedral project continues to be a very hazy, sleazy, totally corrupt project. A project with massive diversions and lack of accountability in a very grave manner. When you follow proceedings today, you will observe that I asked the Honorable Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance that before they made those releases, did they check that there was a PPA approval, that this project had gone through the required procurement process? And she said that she has to go back to the ministry to find out and come back to the house. Can you believe that? When you have already released over 330 million Ghana cedis, at the time, $58.1 million, you are now going to check if there's PPA approval. Well, the news I have for the minister is that I did an RTI request on the 4th of July 2022, 2 years ago, and the PPA responded that there has not been a procurement approval for the contractor Ribade to move to site and to receive payments to such a colossal amount. That is what the PPA told me in that RTI request. And yet, monies have been paid, $58.1 million. And then these claims by the minister that there's been value for money audit, that there was some allocation in the budget, they are all baseless and unfounded claims. We know that she is now contradicting the former Minister of Finance. You recall that when the Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta appeared before the Vote of Censure Committee, Ken Ofori-Atta conceded that there was no allocation in the budget and that what he did was to take money from the contingency vote. You recall? So why are they shifting the goalposts? Why are they presenting us with different stories?
But did you put these facts to her? At least you got the opportunity to ask these questions. What was the response?
We did, we did, and she could not provide any satisfactory answer. Look, all these claims that they have a value for money audit report, if that report exists, what you do is that you bring it to the house, you lay it, so we can peruse the document. It wasn't brought.
Are you asking for these documents?
We are demanding them. Actually, what we are calling for is a probe. What happened in the House today is that they got the Deputy Majority Leader, the Honorable Patricia PJ, to file a question on costs, thinking that that will satisfy us. We are not satisfied. This National Cathedral project has opened a can of worms, from inflationary pricing, procurement breaches, constitutional violations, conflict of interest, double identity, demolition of properties, lack of compensation, court cases. It's a whole mess that one parliamentary question cannot resolve. What we need is a full-scale parliamentary inquiry to go into the entire gamut. And one single question cannot address that.
Okay.
So we are going back to our motion, and we are happy that motion is alive, approved by the Speaker, debated by the House. They are stalling, refusing to present their members so we can form the committee and start work. But we are going to meet the Speaker, and we will be insisting that this parliamentary inquiry should commence in earnest.
A quick question though, Mr. Okujeto Ablakwa. So learning now that we've spent 339 million Ghana cedis already at this foundation level when we talk about the National Cathedral project, really driving by as a Ghanaian, it still raises a lot of concern for us. So knowing that we've spent this amount of money, if you were to suggest, what should we do? Should we just cover the whole? Should we just build it? What exactly do you recommend should be done?
I will suggest retrievals. We have portions of these monies with people who have no business keeping these monies. For example, Carrie Summers, based in the United States of America, who is keeping our $6 million. We can retrieve that immediately. David Ajayi, who has over $28 million, he must be made to refund substantial portions of that.
And do what with it is the concern, because of course we've started this. It's at the foundation level, the biggest hole we've all described it. What exactly do you recommend should be done at this level?
So after the retrievals, I will recommend a national discussion. Fortunately, a number of suggestions have come up. The TUC, for example, have suggested that we should convert the place into a specialist pediatric hospital. Ghana doesn't have a properly so-called children's hospital. There are other suggestions coming about a medical school and all of that because it's close to the Ridge Hospital, the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, the psychiatric hospital, and all of that. So these suggestions could be brought to the fore. Let's all agree. Let's go to Parliament, have a debate. Let it be approved, and whatever we decide to do, let it be properly budgeted for. Let there be transparency. Let's follow our procurement laws. Let's follow all the legal regime that we must comply with when it comes to national projects.
Okay. We are grateful, indeed. That's the North Tongue MP, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa. Well, the minister has been giving other updates that we'll bring to you subsequently. George Wiafe is here. What a good time to bring George in when we're talking about finance issues. What's in business,
Well,
George?
coming up, foreign direct investment for first quarter picks up strongly to hit $123 million. And Bank of Ghana insists remittance data captures operations of Fintech, rejecting claims of underreporting numbers covering that area. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN. Welcome to the new world of business.
Hey, so as for you, every day you are just pressing your phone. Why? Are they paying you?
They are, Oma. The more I use my MTN, the more points I get. And I can use those points to get airtime, data, and even discounts at shops and restaurants.
Hey, so that is why all of you are always pressing your phones. And you won't tell us, so that we too we can enjoy some.
Oh, ma.
There's always more to enjoy with MTN Rewards. Just keep talking, testing, and browsing all day, every day to collect your points and use it to redeem amazing offers and discounted freebies right away. There's so much available for you. So dial *550# and get your reward today. Let's go. Everywhere you go.
Kweku, have you heard what they are doing on MTN?
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
We have a new leader in town. Obiarentie. Amafo. Madam was Sibebre. When him say my baby, maybe more charcoal for whiter teeth. More charcoal. Not only that, maybe lemon. More lemon. Zinc for fresher breath. More zinc. And fluoride for stronger teeth.
Introducing the new President Charcoal Pack with more power with a combination of charcoal and lemon for naturally whiter teeth. Grab yours now. This advert is FDA approved.
What is football? I elevated Inter to the pinnacle of European football by winning the treble. I beat the unbeatable Barcelona with Real Madrid, breaking all records on the way. I feel the hearts of the Romans with joy after winning their first European title. I am relentless. I am ambition. I am a winner. I am Jose Mourinho. I am football.com.
Place your bets now.
Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, the total value of capital brought into the country by foreigners picked up strongly to hit $123 million for the first quarter of this year. Now, this was captured in the investment report released by the Ghana Investment Promotion Center for the first quarter of this year. There is more in this report.
Ghana Investment Promotion Center recorded $106 million in foreign direct investments. When it comes to the first quarter of 2024, the country recorded $124 million in foreign direct investments. This actually represents 17% jump from what was recorded in the first quarter of 2023. The local component of this investment stood at more than $5 million, representing 80% increase over what was recorded in 2023. However, when it comes to projects in the first quarter of 2024, the GIPC only registered 32 projects compared to 36 in the same period for last year. Again, in the first quarter of 2024, Spain overtook China as the country with the highest value of foreign direct investments. The Ghana Investment Promotion Center data shows that things have picked up strongly when it comes to projects registered in total value of foreign direct investments. In terms of the first quarter performance, 32 projects were registered with the Ghana Investment Promotion Center from January to March this year. Out of the 32 projects, the manufacturing sector recorded the highest number with 12 projects. This was followed by services with 9, general trading with 4, export trade and building and construction with 2 projects each.
And that is a Business Desk report. Meanwhile, Chief Executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Yofi Grant, had earlier explained to Joy Business that despite the current economic challenge facing the country, it is still tall among its peers when it comes to attracting FDIs.
These things are not permanent. There are times when countries go through problems, and every country's gone through problems. Not even the biggest economy at the US, you know what's happening there. They're having serious economic issues as well. But of course, because the dollar is this, they can always print to cover their debt. Their debt is huge, humongous, quite over 100% of GDP. But, I mean, Ghana still stands unique. And some of our selling points are...
We still stand out in the midst of reports about companies relocating and all the rest.
Some of the indicators that investors look for are almost inherently placed in Ghana. For example, our political stability, we may take it for granted, but for the investor, that's a number one important factor that they need to understand, that this country is stable, so if I go there, I know 10 years, 20 years, things won't change dramatically. So I can be there, I can deal with the economic changes that come and go. I can deal with economic risk, because as business people, that's what they manage, economic risk.
Yofi Grant is the Chief Executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center. Make the Fiscal Council independent and active through a legislation. Now, that's one of the recommendations of the just ended inaugural Quarterly Economic Roundtable program, jointly organized by the Finance Ministry and the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research. They also want enhanced transparency when it comes to borrowing by ensuring what they call responsible borrowing. These stakeholders also are recommending the build-up of existing sinking fund to ensure that there is enough resources to repay the restructured debt when payments are due. Now, the Bank of Ghana is insisting that remittance data over the years indeed captures operations of financial technology firms. It follows fresh concerns that the Bank of Ghana has indeed been underreporting the numbers, leaving the over $11 billion unaccounted for between 2019 to 2022. The Bank of Ghana has maintained that these fintechs do not hold dollars. Stephen Echampon is with the Fintech and Innovation Department at the Bank of Ghana. He's been speaking an explainer issued by the Bank of Ghana.
The payment service provider does not handle forex. They only pay these remittances into the beneficiary's mobile wallet or the bank account. Now, this arrangement requires a partner bank or a settlement bank, and it is this bank that receives the forex into their nostril account. And once the forex is received, the bank is supposed to convert that forex into Ghana cedis at the prevailing Bloomberg rate at the date on which the transfer is made. Once the payment service provider receives the cedis into their accounts, the local settlement account, then they can disburse it to the beneficiaries. So you see from this process flow that they do not handle forex, they do not trade the forex that is sent for the remittances to be terminated to the recipient. So the customer abroad goes to the outlet of the money transfer operator, and this money transfer operator is regulated in that particular jurisdiction. But the flow of the funds is such that the money transfer operator sends these funds to the partner bank's nostril account, and the payment service provider will then receive the CD equivalent and pay it to the Ghanaian customer. That's through their mobile money wallet or through their bank account.
Stephen Echampon is with the Fintech and Innovation Department of the Bank of Ghana, speaking in that explainer issued by the Central Bank. Now, Chief Enterprise Business Officer at MTN, Angela Mensah-Poku, is urging micro, small and medium-sized businesses to leverage on digital solutions to boost growth. She spoke to Joy Business at the launch of the MTN Ghana's SME Month, which focuses on building a better, smarter business for the country.
We're focusing on how to get businesses ready for the future. Not only digital services, but capacity building with our partners, and also how to access funding and also access to market. So when you look at the outcomes for this month is to make sure that we satisfy our customers that are currently with us and also see our customers move from good to great.
And Angela Mensah-Poku is Chief Enterprise Business Officer at MTN Ghana. Let's turn our attention to the stock market. And if you are a shareholder of Enterprise Insurance, you lost 23 pesos on your shares that you're holding, and it's now worth 2 Ghana cedis, 16 pesos. For that of Total Ghana, it was rather up strongly. Posting or currently is worth 10 Ghana cedis, 80 pesos. And that's all for business on Newsnight.
Thank you very much, George. Have a good evening. Let's do some of your messages that you've sent in so far via WhatsApp. David Kinhart is from English Amanfro. Well, he says, please, it seems the government is insensitive to us Ghanaians. Is the way he starts the message for me. Please. And upon all these hardships we are facing, inflation and co, the government still wants to continue with National Cathedral. He says this is very sad. Sami Nkumasi says that the Minister of State and the Ministry of Finance say the National Cathedral project merits the huge amount of the taxpayers' money spent on it. That's his question. And Paul Kwame Asante says the Education Minister must be schooled on how educational policies are made and implemented. They are just pushing the ideas onto us. If they are only, it's a very rather long message. And this one also, Gusty Man from Brekum says, I'm really surprised because these individual who are speaking against the free SHS bill are hiding behind the opposition who are also against the policy to reject the bill. And final one from Courage Kotoka says, to be frank, I've been saying that the NPP always destroys our education sector. Just take a look at the basic schools, especially JHS, some of your messages that you've sent so far.
And you are still live here on Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. I'll take it to Parliament shortly, but first, you know that strike that has been called by the Civil and Local Government Staff Association, and when they cough, the entire government really will catch a cold, and we are beginning to see that now. A meeting was called today, the Civil and Local Government Staff CLOGSAG. They failed to attend a meeting called by the National Labour Commission to address its concerns. CLOGSAG is protesting government's failure to implement a new salary structure agreed upon 2 years ago. According to its executives, several attempts to get various stakeholders to implement it proved futile, and that is what has triggered this nationwide strike. But this afternoon, they rejected calls by the NLC for a truce. We will get the updates of what happened. But first, let's get a picture of how their strike is affecting government business. Sweetie Abochi was at the ministries and brought this report.
I count only 2 security personnel guarding the place, but nobody. Their gates and some vehicles have been branded with red cloth, signifying the industrial action, but nobody and no activity is ongoing. In fact, you can walk right into the reception area of this building and you won't meet a soul. There's nobody in the building. I counted just about 2-3 security personnel who said they came because they don't want to abandon the place. I also saw one gentleman who says he'll speak to us off record, and he explains that most of their bosses have even turned off their phones, and so you can't even reach them. Their bosses have been very clear that they shouldn't even come to the office. They are here for their own personal stuff. One person said he left a document here, so he only came to pick it up, and so they will not speak to us. We can take footages. We can see the red cloth that they've used to brand the place, and that is the message they have for whoever needs to hear from them. And until their bosses clear them, they will not say a word. And these bosses, they say, have also turned off their phones.
Well, Nana Boachi Yadom also monitored the situation in the Ashanti region.
The impact of the strike initiated by CLOGSAG began manifesting itself immediately as emergencies were left unattended at some government departments in Kumasi. At some district assemblies, doors were locked with essential services on hold. Derek Frimpong is chairman of CLOGSAG in the Asokwa municipality.
We are here to make sure that those ones that also want to find their way here, we stop them from coming to do any work here, because we want the government to hear us and hear us well. So until when you hear our National Council calling off this strike, then you can come back.
He admonished the government to arrive at a common ground soon enough to minimize the detrimental effect on service delivery.
Our employer, we are with you. 2022, you entered an agreement with us to take CLOGSAG into a new salary structure. And that is all that we are requesting for. Implementation was to start in 1st January 2023. And we are in 2004, July, as we stand. No show. So all that we are seeking is that hear us.
For Joe News, Nana Boachi Dankwa Yadom, Kumasi.
Well, the NLC have been reacting to CLOGSAG's inability to attend today's meeting. Well, Ofusua Samoa, Executive Secretary for the NLC, says it's unfortunate.
It's an unfortunate one because, seriously, you have a problem and you have reported to the Commission that the Commission intervenes. We wrote to the other party with whom you are contending. They have given their indication and said that, okay, we are ready to come and settle the case. So why would the one at whose instance this meeting is being called decide that I'm not coming? To appear. You see, they sent a letter to the Commission 3 days ago, which was suggestive that they might not attend. And that is, they have written to the Commission through their lawyers, Gomda and Associates, challenging the composition of the Commission, that the Commission is not properly constituted. And their grounds are that they have caused a search, an official search, at the Registrar General's Department as to whether or not there are any bodies, such as organized labor, registered with the Registrar General's Department or Employers Association. And in both cases, the answer was no. And according to them, the representatives of the labor unions, organized labor here, since there is no registered body as organized labor, it means that their nomination is improper, null and void. So they don't know which body nominated them. Unfortunately, I can say on authority that they were part of the process that nominated them.
Well, he revealed the NLC will be directing CLOGSAG to call off the strike. Let's speak to Bright Rekubobe. He's currently the technical advisor to the employment minister. Was there himself, joins us right now on the line. Thank you, sir, for your time here on Newsnight. So, CLOGSAG, they were not at this meeting. What do you plan to do now?
Well, Evans, good evening and good evening to your cherished listeners. Today we were there as the law demands us to go to the Labour Commission. So we were there. Unfortunately, CLOGSAG did not turn up, and we pleaded that they give us a week to continue to engage them and ensure that we get this matter resolved. So basically, that's what happened at the NLC today.
Yes, but they weren't there, so the strike continues. What's your next move?
Well, our next move is inviting them. In fact, we are doing that tomorrow. And then, like I said, they served the notice yesterday. We got it quite late. And today, our ministers are in cabinet. In fact, we discussed it. So they have furthered the concerns. We are hoping that they come out and then we engage all the stakeholders, including CLOGSAG themselves, and ensure that we get this matter behind us.
I mean, the
public must be assured that this strike, I am very optimistic that if heads come together, we'll find a solution and it will not take too much time.
And that is a big if the heads will indeed come together. Today, they refuse to bring their heads to yours, anywhere close to yours. Was it confident that they will do so when you invite them again?
Oh, well, I mean, that's the nature of the game. I mean, a group of persons are demanding something, you don't have it, it's inadequate, and you have to go back, you have to get mandates, you have to look at resources available, and so on. So I am very optimistic that where we've gotten to, we shouldn't have gotten here. Unfortunately, time is not on anybody's side, and they have declared the strike. So we are working very, very, very fast, and then ensure that they go to work.
Okay, thank you very much. And that there is Bright Rekubobe, is the technical advisor to the employment minister. Let's do some sports now. Ms. Bao is here with the latest.
21 days to the start of the Olympic Games happening in Paris, and one of Ghana's swimmers, Joselle Mensah, has been speaking following a qualification for the Games in Paris via the wildcard route. Now she is one of two swimmers alongside Harry Stacey to feature at the Global Showpiece after being ranked as the highest female athlete in Ghana by World Aquatics. Now her time of 26.52 seconds, which was attained at the 2023 African Games in the women's 50 meters freestyle event, was enough to secure her ticket. My colleague Karen Mubarak has been speaking to her.
I was very excited. Of course, I had been hoping to be selected, but there's also a lot of competition amongst athletes, and you never truly know if you make it until you get that call or you get that message. So I was very happy, I was grateful, and obviously very excited.
Yes. Do you feel like your hard work over the years is gradually paying off after this big news?
I mean, obviously the Olympics, it's the top end for every athlete. Everyone wishes to be at the Olympic Games at some point, since it's kind of the last stop on your athletic journey. But obviously my hard work, it has also paid off throughout my whole career. It's not just this one year or this one competition that I'm proud of myself, but many different steps. And obviously there's also ups and there's downs. And right now I'm very grateful to experience this.
She'll be participating in the 50 meters freestyle for Ghana in the Olympic Games. So tomorrow, Ghana will know the team that will be playing against for a slot in next year's African Cup of Nations in Morocco. So the draw will be held tomorrow. And Evans will bring you updates on that when it does happen.
Thank you very much, Musbao. Now, barely 24 hours after the Trade and Industry Minister laid an LI to regulate cement prices, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbing, has strongly urged him to withdraw it. The proposed LI had been strongly opposed by manufacturers and some NDC members whose leadership surprisingly softened its stance, allowing it to be laid, drawing criticism from some backbenchers. Listen to the Speaker's reason.
I will advise, I'm not directing, I will advise that the sponsors of the instrument to take a second look at it and, if possible, withdraw and capture it in the appropriate language to come within the statutory limits that we have. It's just an advice. It's not a directive.
Well, the former minority leader Haruna Idrisu, who said the LI was unlawful and should not have been laid, have also been insisting that he's going to consider taking legal action.
The constitutional issue that I'm not close with it, but I'm minded to test this matter in the Supreme Court. The Constitution in Article 11 provides that before a regulation, there must be dependence on a parent act, which parent act, as referred to in the standards, is the Ghana Standards Authority Act 2022, Act 1078, Section 80. The Speaker, Section 80 uses the word sale and advertising. This is pricing. Do they have a mandate to regulate based on 80? That's constitutional. The Ghana Standards Authority, Mr. Speaker, I've had the privilege to be Minister for Trade and Industry, is an institution to regulate standards, phytosanitary conduct standard, not pricing. Mr. Speaker, Ghana cannot go this low. That in a democracy and a country, liberal, where market forces must determine prices, we have a minister acting to regulate pricing in the name of the Republic. This is not to be contemplated by a government that believes in property owning democracy.
Science the Mass quiz continues to throw up some really good surprises.
As always.
You know the Decamfor.
A Decamfor?
Yes.
What is the Decamfor? The leaders.
Yes.
They've become what?
Yes. Have you heard about Presby SHS Bampata? Bompata.
Today too.
Bompata.
Bompata.
Have you been there?
No.
Have you been to Bompata? Okay, yes. They've been doing wonders in the National Science of Mass quiz. Knocking out
Trinidad,
yes.
And they do JV.
Yes, they're established participants in the National Science of Mass quiz. You know them. They will go there every year. They've not been there before.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and they won. Emmanuel Bright Kweku has more.
Together, let us represent our school.
You are a contestant. How do you feel taking your school to the nationals for the first time?
We feel very, very great because we have struggled and there are a lot of pressure.
Over the years, we come into the regionals, either we place second or third, then we go home, then back to the drawing board. You try several things over and over and you don't succeed. So it is really a big breakthrough for us.
Are you not scared of Prempeh College Overs?
Oh, no. We are not scared at all. Like,
somebody is saying they are small boys. Do you agree?
Yes, they are small boys.
Restarted.
Thank you.
And of course, in the Eastern region, also Abri girls, they are the champions. 62 points against which schools? Asesewa SHS, Ajina SHS, Salvation Army. When you're 62, Kranka, I'll protest.
We are here. Your school will come up.
Oh, we are there already. Leave us alone. It's time for Strong and Sassy. And guess who is
hello.
here? Noella Karen Yali, the Strong and the Sassy. Well, what are we doing tonight?
So we're starting our 4-part series on celebrating women doing, impactful things in our societies tonight. And we're beginning with Miss Eunice Esiedu.
That's our Impact Maker Award 2024. Yeah.
So it's going to be a very beautiful conversation.
She closed from school today, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. All
And
the
she's
way
here.
from Noka.
Yeah.
And she's here. Welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We leave the studios for you, Noella and Eunice. There's more when you log on to myjournalline.com. I am MFA Power.
And my name is Evan Spencer.